All right, this daily chart of SPY. SPY, I'm going to talk about the negative and the positive here, and basically what I'm going to be doing to make sure that you know we don't we get in we're in the right side of the market. Um, there's some bullish tendency in this chart, like the way we finished today, with the way we were able to reverse. I consider that bullish. Um, at the same time, the price action and how we've fallen is also bearish as well, and the way we've done that, based on the past, based on what I'm looking at. So there's a good chance, there's a good chance that they want to pull this market. Now, what would be bullish right off the bat? I want to talk about some bullish facts. Is that if the spiders can take out their highs today, the one tomorrow 180.48, that would be bullish. And so it's a matter of these two high, the high and the low today, how the market handles the high and the low tomorrow. Do we bust above this low, or do we break above the high? And so we need to look for confirmation. We need to see how the market trades. But there is signs that I'm looking at between the spiders and I can bring up the diamonds as well. The same rounding action you can see happening here with my lines for the top. And it's enough that it doesn't mean that we're going to go lower, but there's enough risk. There's enough reason to say that you need to wait for confirmation. Can other stocks break out? Now, let's talk about that. STX. Now, STX is a stock that is set up to break out higher. However, the problem is that it's attempted to do that um, today as well, and only to pull back. So, for example, we can see that the high was 50.55. The stock tried to do that yesterday, only to pull back. Then they tried it again. They went to a high of 50.85, and they pulled it back, and we closed at 49.96. So these are two failed breakout attempts. Technically, this is bullish if I look at the CC, but there's something funny here. So basically, what I can tell you is that even if this attempts to go higher, what it really needs to take out is 51.44. And what that's telling me is that this stock will probably more likely need time to consolidate first, and for this line to start to curve down, and then it needs to bust above it. And I want to demonstrate just how important it is to wait for things to line up. So what I do anyways, AAPL. Apple, as you can see, we had a breakout, and I talked about a breakout in that 528 to 530 zone, and it occurred on this day, the 530 zone, when it has to break out hard. And you know what? The day that I talked about Apple, and it was in between my lines, whether it needs to be, again, I favor this to go higher, by the way, and it did exactly like I said. But once it hit where it was supposed to go, everything agreed on this day. What did we have here? I want to show the power of this. No moving average does this. I've been studying this. We had a directional move. So this particular line is pretty important because it shows things in a way that shows negativity very quickly to me, anyways. And here's a point here in the point where Apple failed to break above those lines in order to crack lower, right? And they were curving, and I talked about that this is actually a negative sign. That's kind of like what the market's kind of doing now, just like what Apple's doing back over here. Right, let's go back to the SPY. Notice how we're failing and we're curving. Now, this is different than Apple, but there's a similarity, is that we can see that the stock never would stay below this line in momentum on all the days. It pulls down lower, right? We get a little close below, we reverse strongly. It's been like this apparent. This is the first time where you get a negative close, a follow through negative close, and you're not able to get up higher. And like Apple, it wasn't apparent, that big drop but there was warning signs that you need to break up higher. So if you're waiting for to be long Apple that day, you would avoid it. A lot of people, they didn't avoid that Apple. I can tell you the story, AAPL, and that was a discovery as well. As we were bullish the stock, but it failed this day miserably, the line. And of course we had the rounding and it couldn't break higher, and then we had this major drop in Apple. The next time we reversed positively in that 96 to 498 area, we had a sustainable move again and the next move. So it catches major moves within patterns. It's not that simple, but I can just illustrate that there's some similarities happening in what happened with Apple, with the market, that could happen to the market as well, that the market will need a pullback, but it doesn't mean that the market is going to go ultimately lower. Is that we're going to pull back, consolidate, and then move higher. So there you have it. I wanted to just kind of talk about Apple and a few breakout points and what the market needs to do. Thanks for listening. Like the video.